welcome to RM Podcast FL. Happy Saturday. We're Mina over here from RM Podcast, and then we have Kenny Harper today. Hi, Kenny, how are you?
Hello, doing awesome. It's a
Uh,
wonderful day in the neighborhood.
right, well, we're in Florida, so we cannot really complain about the weather, but we're just kind of stuck at home for right now. Awesome. So today, you guys, we have Kenny Harper. He is a business growth coach and advisor. He is the podcast host of Growth Amplifier and chief digital marketing strategist for Rock My Image. So there you go. So today's going to be a really cool episode because we're going to talk about sales funnels. We're going to talk about public speaking, and we're just going to try to help everybody with as much as we can to build their brand. So Kenny, I'll just pass on the mic to you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you come at the position that you are right now? Tell us how awesome you are.
All right, so thank you very much. So I believe that everyone has awesomeness inside of them. We all have unique gifts. We all have passions that really make us tick. And I believe that if we really tap into them, we can not only amplify our own lives, we amplify the lives of everyone around us, contributing to the higher purpose of the world. And so that's what my defined mission is to help people leverage their unique gifts, follow their true passion, and serve a higher purpose. Helping businesses that are doing good do great. And in a market like this, it may be just taking a business that is doing good, try to maximize and maintain all the business that they currently have.
So let's talk a little bit. You are a marketing strategist. First off, were you always passionate about like seeing growth in people and in businesses, or is this something that you just kind of found passion along the way?
Right. So my nature is to be creative, to create things, to be visionary, and very being empathetic. And by the way, that was empathetic, not just pathetic. And I see along my journey, I got into music, and music was a great outlet for me to connect with people, to be creative, to really connect with passionate people. And I've always fed off the energy
Mm-hmm.
of people. But I didn't know the business about how to be successful in music. So that passion became a starving artist, basically, and ended up having to kind of hang my hat there and say, I really don't know how to make a business out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, luckily, I found marketing and multimedia and was able to say, hey, I could use my gifts now in this nature and help people succeed. But you really need to know the business part of a business. Have you ever heard of the E-Myth, the book, The E-Myth?
I don't think so.
It's a great book. It's highly recommended for any entrepreneur. It's the entrepreneurial myth.
Okay.
And I think it's Michael Gerber. And the whole concept is a lot of times people who are entrepreneurs, they get excited about what they know how to do. Entrepreneurial myth is, hey, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to do what I know how to do, and it's just going to work out and be great. But that's not how
It's not
businesses
how
really
it works.
thrive. In fact, it can be a handicap if you really know how to do your craft, because you start working in the business and not on the business. And the E-Myth talks really about building systems,
Mm-hmm.
because systems can help you be more efficient. They can help you build momentum. And some of the best companies, biggest companies in the world, have developed systems to keep them running efficiently. Look at McDonald's, for example, global, ran by high school people who don't have a lot of experience, but the systems empowers them to be able to run a multi-million-dollar franchise, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of what got me into this marketing world, is having that creative background, and then the business strategist side, again, wanting to help people that have unique gifts and really want to make an impact, positive impact in the world, be successful by guiding them to understand how to leverage strategy and systems so that they can do things more efficiently, whether that's generating leads because you need leads in order to have customers, or turning those leads into customers,
Yeah.
or turning those customers into repeat business that ultimately is how you create a profitable business.
Correct. And let's stop a little bit to generating leads
Mm-hmm.
because you need a funnel for it or you need a CRM system. Um, how like first off, let's explain what's a funnel because not a lot of people might know what is a funnel.
So a funnel is basically a system.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process for guiding people from one stage of a relationship to the next stage. One of the mistakes that I've seen happen more recently is there's more software coming out that says create a funnel with the software and automatically just generate more business.
So
But
if
go
so
ahead.
if you're a business owner, since we're staying at the mistake, if you're a business owner, a small business owner, what you should remember when you choose a funnel, like what should you look out for?
It's not about necessarily the technology. There's a lot of people that will buy technology, will put money into it, and not see the results. It happens all the time. The thing to remember, it's all about relationships. It's about putting people first. What do people want, and how can you help them?
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest sales mentors of all time, talked about you can have everything in life that you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
That's very true because a lot of people sometimes also want to see the short gratification of right away instead of investing on it.
Right. So I'm a certified digital marketer trainer. And one of the key pillars of digital marketer is the concept of the customer value journey. It's the process that seamlessly and subtly guides people through the different stages of a business relationship. And so whether you're using technology, some sort of automated technology or software, or you're just networking with people and building relationships, it's important to know that it's relationships that's the key part. When you really think about what are the people that I'm aiming to serve, what do they want, what do they need, what are their challenges, and if my intention is to help more people out, I'm going to gain more from that than if I'm just trying to be self-centered and serve and get the most sales I can get. So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen has been helpful for people, is to think about how are they showing up, what is their intent.
Now, a lot of people when they first start business too, they also what I've noticed is that they also tend to underestimate their value and not charge as much as they need to. So when you're talking about growth, how can you grow and also keep a like not necessarily an affordable price, but a price that would definitely show your value. Because unfortunately, a lot of people sometimes, you know, will go with the cheapest option. They'll find out that's the worst decision.
Exactly. It's kind of like the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. And far too often I see a lot of people who are really good at what they do,
Mm-hmm.
and they price based on what they've experienced or what they've charged in the past. But that's not always the best strategy to price yourself. And I can relate too, because when I first started off being a freelancer, maybe a decade ago, I went from maybe making like $30 an hour working for an advertising agency, which can create a good salary when you're working, $30 an hour and full time. It gives you a decent salary. But when you're an entrepreneur, now you have other expenses. And now you're probably not billing 40 hours a week, or you're not thinking about all the factors. So if you try to charge $30 an hour, you're going to be out of business before you even know it. So what I typically recommend, is a copy of my book, Amplify Business Breakthroughs, is really calculating success. You see, this is the profit growth calculator.
Mm-hmm.
And before you just start selling your business, you go back and think about, what is my goal? What do I want my life to be like, right? How much time do I want to work? Who do I want to work with? What experiences do I want in my life? Then determine what your revenue goal is and reverse engineer it to calculate success. And that should be your answer, not what everyone else is doing. You can't do that. Not what you think you should charge just because you feel it. You got to calculate success. So I'll just give you a quick example. I was working with a coach, and she was telling me that she was thinking about, working with me to help her grow her business. And she told me that she wanted to make $3,500 in this new product line in the next 30 days.
Okay.
All right. So for some businesses, that may be a little. For others, that may be a lot. It's all relative. Anyway, we calculated, well, how much what are you charging right now for that service? She said like $120. And she's giving some time away, some of her personal time for that $120. I said, let's do the math. You're going to have to sell 30 of these sessions
Yeah.
just to hit your goal. That's a lot. How many have you hit last month? Said like 5. I said, oh my gosh, that's going to be a huge change just to be able to hit that. You think about all the other time you have to take to expedite getting those sessions. And so what we need to do is we need to go back and calculate success and think about what numbers are realistic that we could hit that would be worth your time. Mm-hmm. Long story short, we created a different offer, elevated the value of what she could provide, and priced it at $1,500.
Okay.
So now, doing the math, she only needs to sell 3. 3. Now, granted, it's a higher sale, but correct. 3 versus 30. She sells 3, she's going to make more money than if she would have if she sold 30 of the strategy she was working before.
Was that because she was new in the business and she wasn't, because sometimes it freaks out when you charge people more? Or what was like one of the biggest setbacks that you see people like putting the value lower sometimes when they can actually sell it higher and their, you know, their product or services, it's worth higher?
So it's a good question. Part of it is self-limiting belief, just kind of like the experience I had when I started off going into a freelancer. It was hard to say, can I charge $100 an hour? Can I charge $200? Does that seem right? But really thinking about what is the value that you actually provide. You know, if you have, for me, if I'm working with a business that's doing good, they want to do great. I make a small adjustment in their business. That could increase their revenue by 6 figures, if not more. And all right, so now I don't feel guilty if I'm charging a fair rate for the value that I'm providing. Mm-hmm. For this person who's a life coach, she's thinking about time. What about the value? What about if you can help someone remove an obstacle that's been facing them for weeks, months, years, and change the trajectory of what's possible in their life? How much would that be worth? What is the cost of someone not being able to achieve something that's really important to them? No, and one more point to that. And then thinking about it for a moment, if someone has something that's really important to them, in calculating what that value is, you've got to be able to be comfortable that you're going to help them and be worth the amount that you're charging at the same time. And part of that is thinking about perceived value when people get something, like you were mentioning earlier. And I think that was a great point. Typically when I'm doing a speaking engagement, sometimes I'll hold up a picture of 2 different pairs of jeans. Right now I'm going to use my hands because I don't have the jeans with me. So on one side, you get a pair of jeans that looks like a pair of jeans. On the other side, you get a pair of jeans that looks like the pair of jeans. And I'll ask, what's the difference between these 2 pairs of jeans? So we don't have the jeans, so I'm just going to ask you, what's the difference between my hands?
They look about the same.
They look about the same, and that's what the jeans look like. They look about the same, but here's the difference. One pair of jeans cost $20. The other pair of jeans cost $1,000. Mm-hmm. $1,000. People do pay money, $1,000 for a pair of jeans. And here's the interesting thing, the point that brings it home. Well, why would people pay $1,000 for a pair of jeans? So what are your thoughts? Why do you think people are paying $1,000 for a pair of jeans?
Well, I would say number 1, they can afford that, and number 2, maybe they would feel more comfortable because it's also the quality that you get with a product. Because the $20 jeans might not be as comfortable.
And that could be the case. In this case, they're pretty much the same jeans. What do you think the difference would be?
Affirmation, you can afford more and you can show better.
It's coming up on status. Yeah. And what people feel like when they get that pair of jeans, they feel like they're getting something that has more value because it is being charged at more value. So the interesting thing is when you can ask someone, well, what if they took that same pair of jeans that's $1,000 and they marked it down to $20? Would those same people still want those jeans? And in most cases, probably not. If it was marked down for everyone now can get that same pair of jeans, it lowers the value.
You're not special anymore because you have just another random pair, just like everybody else.
And it's so goofy, but it works. Here's an interesting example. I was marketed to go to an event before we got on lockdown, and there's free events all over flipping Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I've got time to go to that event. I don't know if I've got time to that event. This event's like a $2,000 event to go up to North Carolina. And I'm thinking, wow, I think I should go to this event. What really is the logic there? The fact that they put a $2,000 price tag on it made me think, and I even knew it was happening, but they made me think this is probably going to be a much more worthwhile event than maybe a similar event that's in my backyard that's free.
What was your biggest wake-up call towards your personal fees, for example, or you changing your mindset? Because you said before, like you were working as a freelancer, it was like $30 an hour. Now it's a different topic. What was your biggest wake-up call, and when did you make that transformation on your own business?
So it really came down to calculating success. So right now, I've launched a growth program for people who are looking to amplify their business to be able to have more sales or charge more or make more money in their business. Ultimately, money is not really what makes me tick. Ultimately, it's helping people that's serving a higher purpose. But I realize if you want to succeed, if you want to help more people, you've got to generate money. So you've got to think of what profits you are generating so that you have more to be able to give. So I think the why you're doing what you're doing is important. But then you also need to be able to say, well, how do you make that transformation if you're bottlenecked, if you're having a block with it? For me, it's again going back to calculating success. When you can really understand the value that you're providing and think about it. You look, are there other people charging more? Yeah. Do I have the right intent? Yeah. Am I dedicated to helping the people get what they need from, when they're going to do business with me? Yes. What impact am I having on the people that I help? And that's to me is one of the biggest differences, because there are people that have come to me and say, hey, I'd like you to help me grow my business. I've looked at what they've had and thought, I can't calculate success. I can't calculate that you're going to get a good return on investment based on where you're at with your business. And therefore, I'm going to say, here's some other resources. Here's some other solutions. So I think just knowing that and being able to stand there is really important.
No, that does make sense, but I'm interested. What's your coaching style? So, like, let's say I have a business, right? And I sell paper. And I want to amplify my business and I want to grow my business. But I'm a very stubborn business owner. What's your... and why I'm asking this is because sometimes you try to help people, but they're so stubborn. So you're like, okay, I'm here to help, but you're not seeing my view. What is the best approach to talk to those kind of individuals that don't see actually your value? Do you just back up? Are you persistent? Do you have concrete feet? Like, what's your coaching style towards that?
So I think that's a really good point, because it's taken me a little bit of time to learn that from when I transitioned from being more of the tech or the director to more of a consultant or a coach. And you've really got to set the stage for success by putting expectations up front. You need someone to be coachable, and you need them to agree and buy in that, hey, this is how we're going to work. In order for this to work, you're going to have to follow the directions. You're going to have some weigh in on what's important to you and how you want to work. So it's not a dictatorship. We work together as a team, but we've got to make decisions together, and you've got to be able to trust some recommendations and actually implement. You got to take new actions to achieve new results. If you do the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same results you always had.
Definition of insanity, yeah.
Right.
Also, you have a podcast, Growth Amplifier. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what's your mission with that.
So Growth Amplifiers, my personal mission is to help those with the attitude, expertise, and drive to really amplify their business. I want to double the size of 10,000 businesses worldwide. And, those that are serving the higher purpose are the ones that really make me tick, because I feel like that's my contribution to the world and through my life. Growth Amplifiers is a podcast that we're interviewing successful business owners and entrepreneurs that are doing good now, and they're sharing some of the challenges that they had on their journey, and they're sharing growth amplifiers that people can implement and maybe save a little bit of time, maybe save time from learning and doing things the wrong way, or ways to do things better, new ideas. So just ideas that you could use to grow. Now, I believe I'm a smart person, and I've taken a lot of trainings and had different coaches and everything, but I also know that there's more that I don't know than I do know.
Yeah.
And that's always the case with everyone. Back to your point about coachable people, you need to know that people have got to understand they've got to be in that coachable mindset. It's only when you think you know everything that you start closing off your possibilities of changing and growing. So growth amplifiers is looking for the people that have the attitude, expertise, and drive, and they want to continue to grow. They want to continue to do better, and they want to be around people that have that same attitude and same mindset.
That is so true, though, and I was actually thinking a little bit about this yesterday, just like podcasting itself, for example, or just doing this live streams for the last 2 weeks. I'm like, I had no idea of how these things worked, because sometimes when you block that mindset, it's like, I know. No, you don't.
Right.
Like, the more you learn, the more you know, like, you realize how much you don't know at the same time. And that is so true. And, like, for people to change their mindset, sometimes you can talk to them, but they have to kind of, face the reality themselves often to get to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from the podcast interviews, is there a story or is there an interview that you learned a lot from that you're like, I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of moments too that you share with the audience, but is there something like, what was like one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from those interviews?
I think one of the things that's maybe less of a lesson, but more of the inspirational part, where some of the people I've had the opportunity to interview have gone through great challenges and had huge setbacks. And how we handle those challenges and setbacks is really I disappeared. I came back.
Yes, you're back.
I was talking about setbacks. It's like part of the course, right?
Yeah.
Setbacks and challenges, it's how you react to them that really make a difference. I was interviewing a guy that shared with me his story about how he got burnt and severely as a child, and how that gave him a lot of pain. He was made fun of because he looked like, Freddy Krueger. People were calling him names, and he lost a good chunk of his childhood. But that setback made him more determined. And now he's like one of the most successful triathlons that has ever been on the world, actually. He's one of the top 10 or top 5% of Ironman competitors. If you're familiar with the Ironman triathlons.
Is that the one that did the there was a marathon. I think I've heard of him. What's his name?
Yes, and you're throwing me a loop right now, and I've got the wrong interview stuck in my head.
No, I think I've heard of him, and he got burned down really bad, and then he was in hospital back and forth. I forgot his name, but I've heard of him. And
I should know this.
And his story is actually really impressive. Now, once I find it and everything, I'm gonna post it one more time. I've heard of him. I've heard an interview of him years back, though. Not recently, so it's just kind of sparking something in my head. But let's kind of go back to this. So you started freelancing, and then now you are a businessman, and you help others amplify their business. But also you were the director for Toastmasters. Tell me a little bit about public speaking, and how important is it for you to just even get comfortable on your own skills and sell yourself? Because at the end of the day, that's what kind of it is.
Oh man, I'll tell you that. That has been a journey for sure. Oh, by the way, I just recalled the gentleman's name. It's Shay SQ.
Shay SQ, okay.
Yes, he's a healthcare influencer, top 1% Ironman competitor, and I was getting him confused with a mindset coach interview, Grant Parr, who is another great podcast guest. And Grant's name just was popping in my brain. I was like, that's not it. I know who that guy is. And the other guy's name is something that's really interesting and unique. And it's Shay SQ.
I mean, also when you interview like 100 people, it gets like the hard drive in your brain gets pretty loaded, you guys. Like if you have a podcast, you will know that feeling.
I'm horrible with names and faces regardless. I know that's a bad affirmation to say, but it's not that I don't care. You ever seen the movie Memento?
No, I haven't.
It's an interesting movie. It kind of is shot in reverse sequence. I think it maybe is early 2000s. And this guy has this condition where he just doesn't have short-term memory. But yeah, if I reintroduce myself to people, it's not trying to be insulting. It's just, I don't know. It seems like I can't seem to sometimes get someone's face planted in my brain. It's like, I don't have a choice about that thing. It just, I either recognize you or I don't. But I really respect the people I connect with.
It happens. No, it is true. It happens. I have to, like myself, I will, if I met you only once, I would probably not fully remember. But if I had like a conversation with you and a heart-to-heart conversation, then yes, your name is stamped on my hat. Like that's for sure.
So it makes a difference. And then sometimes, when I know it's too, like if I'm being put on the spot, like when you're like live, then I've got that wonderful little, that slight little panic that then's preventing me from getting the name. And it's like, come on, subconscious, do your thing. But it's funny because I've introduced friends to friends before, and when been put on the spot, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot my friend's name that I really know.
Oh, it's okay. No, it happens. I mean, I've introduced friends to friends like multiple times. Like we all hung out sometimes. We'd be like, hey, you met this person, right? Like, yeah, we hung out like 3 times, 4 times. Oh, okay. It happens.
So with speaking, so Toastmasters, are you familiar with Toastmasters? Have you ever visited a Toastmasters?
I have not.
Club. So I'm going to suggest that you at least check it out. You can go to toastmasters.org, and when there's not a pandemic going on, they have meetings all over the world. There's like 30 different clubs in Jacksonville. They meet at different times of the day, and you can visit a group without even having to join. If you join, I think it's like $50 for 6 months. It's almost like basically free.
Yeah, that's very cheap.
But it's a group that creates a environment for you to develop your communication and leadership skills with positive, supportive feedback. And I had the background of being, very comfortable in front of people because I was, playing on stages before, and I don't have a problem getting in front of people and acting a fool. But I had not developed the skill of being able to articulate ideas in a compelling, interesting manner. I just didn't have that. And so I was working for an advertising agency, and they were wanting me to communicate, advertising pitches to potential clients. And I just didn't have that skill at the time. And it was costing me opportunities. So I joined Toastmasters like a decade ago and went through the program. And the amount of transformation I had, even within the first few months, was huge. And I went from someone who actually bored himself in his own presentation. I was doing a presentation on search engine optimization, and it was so boring. I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, guys. This is like horrible. To getting the opportunity to become a professional speaker, international speaker, paid speaker, that more importantly has developed the ability to connect with people and inspire people to take new action in their lives. And I think that's one of the most powerful skills that anyone can develop, is being able to connect with people in a heartfelt way and guide people to maybe take some steps that gets them out of their comfort zone or gets them to try new things and just pushes them a little bit so that they can grow and they can get to a new level in their lives.
How important is the nonverbal language on a public speaking moment?
It's a good question. I think non-verbal is important. There's sometimes that I'm, depending on what I'm doing, I might use my hands more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
or facial expressions. If you're familiar with the National Speakers Association, the NSA, some of those masters at speaking, they put on a really strong presentation. They are looking to put you into the moment and really take you out of the world that you're in right now and put you into a different moment, different mindset, so you can feel. And when you bake something in, like you were saying earlier, like when you're having a conversation with somebody, if you have a real heart to heart, really connect with someone, and you feel something, that's going to resonate a lot more than if you're just getting kind of information and data.
Yeah.
Um, so the different skill sets to be able to use your facial expressions and uh, gestures, body language, all plays a huge role. You could basically say the exact same in sales and business. It's huge. You basically say the exact same thing, and you have way different performance between someone who is making a lot of sales and getting a lot of business and someone who's struggling to get any. And they're saying the exact same thing, selling the exact same thing, but it's how they're coming across and how they're portraying themselves and how they're communicating, both verbally and with their body language and tone, confidence.
And yeah, that's very true. I mean, I worked sales for years, and that is absolutely true. And I'm always intrigued with the nonverbal because I learn every day like new techniques or new ways how to just genuinely be more approachable. Because, for example, with me, I'm I still suffer with this. When somebody first meets me, they say that I come across as very stubborn and somebody hard to deal with. But like I can have a conversation with everybody and generally being the present. So that's something that I struggled with, and until this day, like I come across like some of my very good friends that said when we first met you, we thought you were absolutely unapproachable just because how you hold your body. So I try to improve this myself too, and that's why I was asking like how important is the nonverbal, like the body language on a public speaking, because you want to be like you're building a relationship when you're in that stage. So
Oh,
it's not something easy to also, change your habits of how you act and what you do.
yeah, and it's also, to your point, like needing to be somewhat of a chameleon and reading the audience. And there's some who, it's almost like, um, if you have a real excited audience, you might be able to be more out there and exciting. But if they're more laid back and kind of chill,
Mm-hmm.
you, different speakers may act a little different. Some may be a little bit more chill and kind of play to the audience. Others will kind of keep their routine consistent the way it is. I don't know if there's a better approach. I think it depends on what your goal is and what you're doing. I give comedians a mad props for going out and doing like those open mic nights to cold crowds. Whoo! It's uncomfortable.
That is, I remember watching a documentary of Kevin Hart actually recently, and he was saying like, I was looking when I would get on stage, I was just looking just for even one person to just give me a huh or just give me a laugh, and he's like, and I'll focus on them all night. All I wanted to do is just make that one person, and the rest of them would start laughing because it's kind of like like people get injected from one another. But it's very important to just get even that first expression, and he's like, and I would hold into that to get the rest of the audience in the crew. But yeah, that's nerve wracking.
Yeah, I do not consider myself a comedian by any means, but I tend to try to have a little bit of humor naturally peppered into what I'm doing. But I've been in front of some crowds that are laughing, they're having a good time, and I feel natural and like really empowered. And I've been in front of others that just kind of like everyone's just giving you this weird stare, and jokes are just going, and you're like, oh man, tough crowd.
my very first public speaking, I was so nervous. I remember when they welcomed me to the stage, and I was like, they're like, "Hi, we're welcome Romina, so and so," and I was like, "Hi, everybody." I was like, "Is it hot in here? Or is it just me being nervous?" And they laughed at it, and I was like, "Okay, cool." I was like, "We're good now." But I remember being so like nervous, and I was like, "I need to break with a joke. Like, I cannot just be like, 'Hi, guys.'" Like, I got told I'm unapproachable sometimes, so
Right.
I need to break it with a joke. So every time like I'll do a public speaking now, I'm like, I need a joke for the event, or I need a joke for something to kind of break that ice, which is very, very important down the road.
It's interesting depending on. I'm a Gemini.
Same.
Oh, cool. And I've got the two sides. I don't know. Do you have two different
Yes.
personalities?
Yes.
I go to some networking events and I'm just excited. I see people. I see opportunities in people. I'm just really like the happy
You're in the
puppy that's
moment. Yeah.
my tail's wagging. I'm like jumping up to him and being a little bit maybe too excited. And some of these people maybe a little bit less. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just sorry. I'm just excited. The energy I'm getting it fed to me, and I'm just pushing it right back at you.
But there's some events then that you just want to get your friend and just hold into that one friend and not care about networking, even though you know exactly how important it is. That is so true. Yes, I'm a Gemini too. I have that. So at PodFest, the last conference that we just had, I actually had 2 days that I was there. One day I was with a good friend of mine. So I was just me and him, and we're just visiting events and just trying to learn, and actually connected with him, got to talk with him. And that was my I want to stay low, day. And then the next day, I woke up super energized, and I ended up connecting with a lot of people and making new friends and everything. But that is so true, though. Like, Geminis, they have that. We're not crazy, you guys. It's just our moods. Blame it on Gemini, Blame it on the moon.
Yeah. Blame it on the rain. I don't know. Blame it on something.
Right? That's not us. We wake up and something is already set for us. Now, let me ask you this. How can a public speaking help your business, or Toastmasters itself? How can it help your business? Especially if you have these ideas, because you said you started yourself because you wanted to better articulate your ideas. How does that help you? Because you have the ideas.
Right. So just practice is really one of the keys. Just like you do in your first podcast interview, maybe some people are a little bit more natural at it than others because they're more talkative, they're more conversational as is, but others may stumble a little bit, and they need to work through that. They don't have that skill naturally developed. So when they practice, they develop competence, and with competence comes confidence. And when you really know your stuff and really feel strong about it, you're going to radiate and just put out a completely different energy than if you really don't know what you're talking about, or you're uncomfortable with your skill level there. And the only way to defeat the dragon is to face it.
Would you say everybody in a leadership position, that being a frontline manager or high executive, should attend Toastmasters and should improve their public speaking?
I personally am a large advocate for Toastmasters. I went through the program and became a distinguished Toastmaster. I know that they have, different ways to get involved with the program, and it's not for everyone. If you don't want to get in a leadership role, it's not your thing. That's not what you're there for. But you can go with, what you're aiming to improve, connect with other people that have similar mindsets, and challenge yourself to grow and put yourself out of your comfort zone and develop new skills. There's no one who's at complete mastery all the time. And it's, again, like we were saying earlier, as soon as you think I'm as perfect as can be, you're limiting yourself. And just like Rocky, from Eye of the Tiger, you get that I'm the best ever, and you quit practicing and stretching yourself, you just slowly start coming down. So always put yourself out there, challenge yourself. So I think it would be worthwhile. Just check it out.
How long would you say before you go to a speaking gig? How long would you say the practice and putting everything together takes you? Because some people think it's just an overnight thing, but how the preparation itself, how long does it take you?
That is a good question. And I think it really depends on what the nature of the speaking engagement is. I see a lot of people, I'm a speaker because they can talk. It's like I'm a photographer because I've got a phone, I can take a picture. It doesn't make you a good photographer, and being able to talk into a microphone doesn't make you a good speaker. I think it really depends on what are your goals, who are you talking to. If you're wanting to get paid money to professionally speak, then I think you really need to do your homework, do the research, practice, get your performance down, and work on the craft, because it is a craft. It's like being a musician in a band. You can play, if you can just play the guitar by playing some chords, it's not the same as if you really practice your musical instrument. Can I talk? I don't know. Your musical instrument, and really get good at it and put on a show. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think there's an exact time, because everyone comes with different skill sets naturally. I met a guy a couple months ago who hasn't really ever done public speaking, but he's such a natural at how he carries himself, how he projects, how he connects with an audience, just talking in front of a group. He can probably just get a format of what he's going to talk about and be on his way. Where I've seen other people where it's like, oh my gosh, from how you're standing to how you're not looking at the audience, from the ahs, so, like, so, all that stuff needs to be worked through.
I feel like, especially when I first started podcasting, like, actually, I'd say, like, so today, or, yeah, like, I would edit those out, but I'm like, I sound so foolish. Like, I need to improve myself. And it comes with it, too. Like I say this on my first interview. This is very embarrassing, but I forgot the name of the guy that I was interviewing. I was so nervous that I forgot, and he caught it. And at the end of it, I was like, I am so sorry. I was like, it's my first interview. I'm really nervous. And he's like, no, I figured. He's like, it's okay. I've done it before too. Like, forget the name, like, of a customer or something. And he was the general sales manager here for Audi Jacksonville. And he's like, it's okay. He's like, it happens. It's, you're nervous. But it was very embarrassing, and I would say, so, yeah. But it comes with practice, and people sometimes fail to practice.
That is one of the exercises in a Toastmaster group, is they'll listen for your ahs, your ums, your so's, your likes, and bad uses of grammar. And it's funny because if you just started talking for 1 to 7 minutes and just give a presentation, most people would think it's not an issue. But when you're paying attention to it, when you start being mindful of it, you start being more aware that, wow, I'm really putting the word so and like into almost every sentence, and it's horrible. Like,
would you say
that's
maybe
bad.
You should
Like,
record yourself and then kind of like mark down like how many times you use the so, like, and kind of learn from there? What would be the best practice if you don't have an audience and you're just practicing yourself?
Recording yourself is huge, because you're going to catch some things that you're not realizing that you're doing, and you're going to see what is actually happening. It's interesting how the phenomenon that happens there. I was recording some videos, and I was trying to put a smile on my face while recording the videos. And I'm thinking that I'm putting a smile on my face and in the video, and then I look back and it's barely even noticeable. I'm like, there was a smile the whole time. How is that smile not there? But to really get a smile on your face, you really have to work for a smile the whole time.
Yeah.
And the same with emphasis. If you want to sound excited, or you're doing something online where people can't see you, you may need to be a little bit more animated or put a little bit more energy than you think you naturally should for it to come across the way you think it is coming across.
Mm-hmm.
So when you record it, what plays back is what actually happened, not what you're perceiving that happened. It's a good recommendation. Go back, watch it, and then start noting, did this come across like I was thinking? How am my ums, ahs? Are my transitions good? Am I pacing back and forth like a lion? Here's what I'm doing. People do that sometimes when they're speaking, and what are you doing? You're distracting yourself.
That is so true. That is so true. Like, moving back and forth, and it's nerve-wracking. I mean, everybody wants to be a public speaker. I feel like nowadays it's like a trendy thing. but you really have to build your craft, and it's not easy. Like, you have to really put work to it.
There's a lot when it comes to speaking, coaching, that it's not such a regulated thing. So, like we were saying earlier, anyone could say, I can speak, I can tell other people what to do, I can ask questions, therefore I can do these things. I, I joined the International Coaching Federation
Hmm.
last year, and by being around other coaches and really studying coaching, I realized that at least for a year or two that I was calling myself a coach, I really wasn't a coach. I was more of an advisor. And there's a whole different skill set when it comes to coaching that I think 90% of people that call themselves a coach aren't even tuned into. They just haven't really learned the
What's the
craft
biggest
behind it.
difference between an advisor and a coach, you would say? Like, some of the biggest highlighted differences?
So as a marketing advisor, there's people they want to achieve a goal and they really don't know what to do. They're kind of like, there's so many different things. I don't really know where I'm going. I don't have a game plan. I don't know how I'm going to achieve a result. So as an advisor, I work with them to assess where they're at now, identify what bottlenecks they have, identify
Hmm.
what opportunities they have, and then craft a roadmap based on what's going to give them the most impact, take the least amount of time, and have the least cost. And I could advise them, here's the things you want to do, here's the things you need to avoid, and here's the best frameworks and strategies to get this done with the best results. So advising is kind of like telling them based on experience and knowledge.
Yeah.
Whereas coaching, I downplayed the value of coaching for a while because I didn't understand it and its full impact until kind of really getting around other seasoned coaches who've really focused coaching. Coaching is really where you're asking more questions and getting people to come to the answers themselves. And it's not just asking questions. And that's where the difference between a novice coach that knows just enough to ask questions and tell people and an experienced coach that really knows the process and the different competencies to guide people for true transformation.
Hmm.
That's where that comes into play. And they're asking questions and guiding people and helping to understand what those blocks are. And they are very intuitive. They're like mind Jedis. It's really powerful to see and witness. And it's, for me, it was almost because I've had coaches in the past and I've been kind of irritated with some coaches. They're just asking me questions. I'm like, why am I hiring you if you're just going to ask me a bunch of questions?
Yeah, you're supposed to, like, tell me what to do.
Right. I need some guidance on what I'm supposed to be doing. That's why I'm hired a coach, because I need help. But uh, and it depends on what your goals are and what you're working on. Really,
Hmm.
is why that comes into play. But a really good seasoned coach can ask questions, really be intuitive, work with you to identify where your mind is at, get down to some of the root causes of where you're at, and help work you through those blocks in your mind to change your thinking. Because what's in our life is a reflection of what's in our mind. And so why I realized that was so important is because I did have some clients early in my advising business, that I was giving them all the steps they need to do, giving them all the actions, but they weren't achieving the results. They weren't achieving the results because they weren't following through and they didn't have the right mindset. So mindset is a huge component. You can't just have the technical knowledge and just the things that need to be done. People know they need to lose weight. If they want to lose weight, they need to eat less calories and exercise. People know that all over the place. It's not anything new, but there's a lot of obesity. It's not from lack of knowledge, but
Lack of action.
they hire a trainer or a coach or somebody to help them go through what they need to do in order to apply that knowledge.
Is it also, you would say, so a coach, like the best coach out there, it's still that coach needs a coach.
Yes. In,
Why?
in fact, if you're working with a coach that doesn't have a coach, you should question, should you be working with that coach at all? Especially if you're working with a coach that has never had a coach. That is a red flag. Like, you're kidding me? You're selling coaching services. You've never actually hired a coach yourself, been through a coaching program. You have pretty much no business selling that. It's not a good representation. Why it's beneficial for everyone to consider having a coach is you can't see the frame if you're in the picture. You could be in the smartest mind. You could have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of, things that you're doing well. But a good coach can help you improve what you're doing and see your blind spots. You can't see your blind spots because they're blind spots, right? You can't see what you're not doing. And we're horrible at holding ourselves accountable. Maybe there's a few Olympians that are really good at holding themselves accountable.
It's not the same when somebody else holds you accountable because they can
But
call
yeah,
you out on your own BS. Yeah.
But do Olympians have coaches? Yes. Would they be successful without having coaches? Probably not to the same degree. Granted, you'd probably never have Olympic gold medalists who didn't have a coach. You wouldn't have a Super Bowl team winning the Super Bowl if they didn't have coaches. And the biggest misconception that I had about coaching earlier in my career is I thought you needed a coach if you were struggling and didn't know what to do and you just needed help. Thinking like I'm not smart enough or I don't have enough skills that I need help. I need a coach. And I've had a complete mind shift and now realize it's the top performers, the ones that are getting the most done, that actually have coaches.
Yeah.
They're getting people to help them stretch themselves, achieve new results, get breakthroughs, get past blind spots, and do it in less time with less energy. It only makes sense.
That is so true, though, and I want to kind of go back to the public speaking because I think it's very important. But I want to ask you, how can somebody grow their business through public speaking and like to grow your personal brand? Like for example, me, right now, like my main mission behind my podcast is to help others. I say learn at least one new thing per episode, which right now they should have 61 new things, hopefully, if they listen to every single one. And also, I wanted to build the brand behind my name. Like, for example, and I've expressed this before, if you just Google my name before, it will probably just come my Facebook page, which I'm like, that's not cool. But now if you Google my name, it will come the podcast, it will come the LinkedIn, it will come my blogs, it will come all this. But also public speaking is a very another important key, I would say, to building your brand. How can you do so and while you do that, bring traffic to your business?
Got it. I think it comes down to what is your bold vision? What are you aiming to achieve? What's important to you? Now, if you've thought about what you want your life to be like, you reverse engineered, say, here's what I want my business to be like. And now I need to use public speaking as a strategy to build awareness, to engage with more people, to get them to be enrolled in what I'm doing. Then you got to know, well, who is my target audience? And what value am I sharing with them? And how do I want to be known and remembered? All three are very important because what tends to happen is someone who speak, they say, I want to speak, I'll speak about anything, I'll talk with anybody. And they broaden their involvement so wide that nobody really thinks of anything particular when they think of them.
They're not an expert in one thing.
Yeah, they just, I know that, I've heard that person, but where if you really niche down and say, well, who do I want to be known as? And how do I want to show up? And who is my audience? And how can I create content that is going to be helpful for them to get what they want? So if people either have some sort of pain that
I lost you there.
I'm back. So either people have
Welcome
some sort
to
of
live stream, you guys.
I know. people either have some sort of pain or challenge they want to move away from, or some sort of desire or aspiration that they want to move closer to. And if you understand your audience and what they want, you can communicate with them, being really specific on, here's how I can help you get what you want. And if you're not doing that when you're speaking, and you're speaking very generally, you can entertain people. You could build a brand to entertain people. That could be helpful if that's your goal. But if you want to drive it to your business, it should be trying to help people understand how it is that you can help them achieve what they desire.
That's very true. And something I would add, I actually learned it on the PodFest recently. It was whenever you do a speaking event too, pull up your phone and just start recording people. Just be like, hey, how did you enjoy the speaking? To kind of get testimonials too for your site or for anything. You can do videos or you can just record it and then put it on audio, like from audio and like put it on the website. But that's another important thing that I wanted to mention. I've learned this from the conference that we did, and unfortunately with everything going on, we don't have any speaking events right now. But that is like something else to remember to you guys, like record testimonials and stuff to build that. And yeah,
I'm not trying to interrupt. Just you got me to think of something.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
So testimonials, it's very important. Testimonials, and get photos of you on stage with people in front of you. Oh my gosh, I've known some people who've given some amazing talks in front of really big audiences, and they didn't get any pictures. And I've seen others maybe get pictures of themselves speaking, but they forgot to get the audience in there, and that really doesn't do you as good. All right, there you are in front of a wall with the presentation in the background. It's really in being in front of people that shares that you're an authority, that you're an expert in your field. I bring this is a book, Amplify Business Breakthroughs, How I Find 10K in Any Business in 45 Minutes. By the way, if you're interested, you can go to growthamplifiers.com and can get a free copy of this. Growthamplifiers.com. Also, we have a webinar that we're doing right now for business owners or entrepreneurs that are looking to maximize and maintain the business that they currently have. So going back to the book, I brought it up in the first place, speaking engagements. A lot of the times at these speaking engagements, I see these speakers go out and they do a pretty good topic, but it seems like they haven't really thought about the game plan of how they can maximize that speaking engagement. Now, I know a lot of conferences tell you, you can't sell. Mm-hmm. And I can understand that you can't spend the whole presentation making a sales pitch. That is annoying as hell. Yes. No one likes that. But I always think it's good to have some sort of offer. And if you can't actually have a transactional offer, you can still have something of value that gets people to take the next step in the relationship. And to me, it makes sense to think about how you can leverage that ahead of time. We talked about sales funnels earlier, and so I'll give you a quick story. So I had an opportunity to do a speaking engagement down in Orlando. I knew that and I had to pay for it as a small sponsorship, like $500, really small sponsorship. But it gave me the opportunity to get a little booth. So I figured you can't sell in the actual presentation, but you could have a booth, and maybe you can get people to go from the presentation to the booth. So I went to the presentation. I said, all right, well, a majority of these people aren't even business owners. And that's going to take the number of people I could potentially even get business from way down. So I said, all right, well, what goal can I put together that I can at least recoup my costs? Well, if I'm going to try to sell my coaching services, that's probably not going to happen from a small 30-minute presentation at real coaching prices. Too much of a jump. They just met me. They got to get to know me before they'd hire me as a coach in most cases.
Yeah.
And especially since I can't really sell on stage anyway. So they're going to get a brief moment to maybe stop by my booth. So I thought, you could sell the book. But how much is a book worth? How much could you sell a book for? Maybe $10, $20? So how many books would I have to sell in order to recoup getting my ROI back from that $500 investment?
Yeah.
It's like 100 books or something. It's more than I'm wanting to put time and energy into, maybe 50. So what I ended up doing is creating a irresistible offer and putting together a package that was, several items together into a package that really stacked the value, and sold it for closer to $60. Okay. And then my goal there was to sell 10 to make a small bit of money. I ended up selling 9. So I'm just shy of breaking even from the event. Now, what's the benefit of making an offer and getting some people in the crowd to take that next step? What do you think?
Well, number one, you start recruiting leads.
Right.
And now they're going to go to your site. Now they would want to be in touch with you. They're going to read the book. There gets coaching. There gets, clients and everything.
Exactly. You need leads.
Exposure, yeah.
Yeah, you need leads in order to move the business forward. But when I was getting people to take me up on the offer, out of the 50 or so people that were in the presentation, the 9 people that bought what I was selling, now I know the 9 people I should really put my time and attention to focus on, versus all the 50 people and spending all that time to try to follow up with all those people. So really working those relationships, I was able to follow up and turn that probably into a 17 grand gig, which for some that may be a lot, for others that may, just be, a start. But before really having a strategy and thinking about what is that funnel, what is that process that guides people, what's that value journey, and mapping that out, if you didn't have a strategy, like, I don't know how many speaking engagements I used to do beforehand, where I would go there, I'd speak, I'd pass out business cards, maybe I'd get some people on my list, and that would be the end of it. Now I was able to maximize and maintain and amplify the results from that. And I could tell you, I went to, how many presentations did you go to from PodFest?
So I was there for 2 days. It was like 7 or 8 that I attended sessions.
And how many of those people made an offer where you took a next step with them?
Honestly, from the ones that I attended, like 2 of them.
And did they follow up with you?
Yeah.
No. You see a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think one of those people could have helped you out? Potentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know. So and I've been guilty of it in the past. But the key is, we talked about this in the very beginning, sales funnel, it's all about relationships. And so kind of my Springer's final thought is really thinking about, you need a strategy, you need a process, a consistent process, whether you're doing webinars, whether you're doing podcast interviews, whether you're doing speaking engagements, whether you're doing social media. If you don't have a strategy that you can consistently follow that guides people down the relationship path, their value journey, then you could be spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, and just spinning in the mud, spinning your wheel in the mud.
That is so true. I mean, you guys, this is a live session, but for my podcasters out there, for those that are listening through wherever you get your podcast juice from, I will attach all the information below where you can reach Kenny, because we covered some very important information towards amplifying your growth, sales funnels, generating leads, public speaking, how you can turn your public leads into actual sales, which it's a lot of great information. But for also, Kenny, if you just want to mention out loud, like, where can people get a hold of you? And we'll make sure we'll attach all the information below too.
Right now I'm pushing the website Growth Amplifiers, growthamplifiers.com. We are doing podcast interviews. We are doing a webinar that's sharing actionable strategies right now on what you could do to maximize and maintain the business that you currently have in this market. There's a lot of businesses that are needing to reinvent and needing to think about what can they do to at least keep the business that they have and take as little of a hit as possible. Yeah, survive stage. So typically we're looking to amplify. Right now we're just looking to help people prevent loss, and it's time to be proactive. And the more focus you could do that, the better. There are some businesses and industries that we are seeing that are actually increasing and really solid, but a lot of us are needing to think about, all right, let's get back to the drawing board, and how we're going to approach this market and doing it effectively.
Awesome. And then so that's the most exciting project that you currently have, the growthamplifier.com website, or are you working on another project too?
Thank you for the plug. So right now we've kicked off our first virtual jumpstart accelerator,
Mhm.
and we've got people from different industries who are looking to do just that, looking to reinvent, looking to get their systems in place, tighten up what they're doing for their marketing, get measurable results. We've got this. It's all about creating an action plan. We have books and a course developed to help people get the most results in the least amount of time with the least cost. And we're going to be kicking off another virtual jumpstart accelerator here in the next few weeks. So we're looking for people who are interested in participating in that. It's the content that we've used to help businesses grow and amplify around the country. We're doing it in group form virtually at a reduced price to help people that are being impacted by the COVID-19 and coronavirus pandemic.
And like we said before too, guys, like right now everybody's home, number one, so you need to leverage this. Yes, we get it. It's very mentally draining and it's not easy. And I'll say, yes, I'm one of the people that's struggling with just being home alone, but you need to change your mindset, especially if you want to be successful. If you do not take advantage of this time to rebuild yourself and your brand, and if you do not take advantage of the time, the resources, the connections that you can create from this, then later on when the world goes back to normal, then it's your fault. So you can stop blaming other people. So now it's time to take action because you have a lot more time in your hands. So I'll go ahead and attach all the Kenny's information there too. So go ahead and reach out to him. Tell him Romina from RM Podcast send you guys, and then let's go ahead and take your business to the next level. So why not?
All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And then my very last question: what is your definition of success?
My definition of success is for people that are living with integrity, using their unique gifts, following their true passion, and serving a higher purpose.
Love it. Awesome. Couldn't get a better ending. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And go ahead and look at the details to go ahead and connect with Kenny, too.
Thank you.